What's good, y'all? It's your boy Tony the Savant back with another one. Do the intro. Shout out to the BCE, the SCE, my boy Mello, that's the president. Shout out to my boy Jeezy, that's the manager. Shout out to my cousin Hawk, she been supporting since day one. I love that and I love you, G. Let's get into the meat and taters. Steph Curry recently dropped his top five. Well, I want to correct his starting five. His top starting five. Oh, your boy just not getting his voice back. Was out of commission these last few days. Anywho. Anyway, Steph Curry dropped his top five, and I gotta say that I'm very impressed. I'm not very surprised because Steph is, I feel like Steph is my personal GOAT. I don't think that's any breaking news at this point for anyone that's been rocking with me for any amount of time. Steph is definitely my GOAT as far as the guy I've seen from day one to now, who has solidified his spot in NBA history. In my eyes, is one of the best to ever do it. And when I heard he dropped his top five, I was definitely invested because for one reason, me and Steph were about the same age. I think he got me by a year or so. We're in the same generation, so anything that Steph talks about is pertaining to basketball. I'm familiar with because, like I say, we grew up in the same era. So when I seen his top five, I was like, it looks much like mine. Granted, I would probably shake and bake one or two names. But anyway, let's get into it. So at Steph Curry's top five, well, like I say, I wasn't pretty sure it was his top five or top starting five. I haven't seen the actual interview that this came from, but just giving my commentary on his selections. Anyway, he had at point guard, he got Magic Johnson. At shooting guard, you got Michael Jordan, of course. At small forward, we got Kobe. And power forward, you got Duncan. And then at center, we got Shaq. Now, like I said, I'm very impressed. I liked all these names. At this lineup, I think you are going to win a championship with easily. And I think I like Kobe, but I probably would put Larry Bird there. Instead of Shaq, I would probably put Kareem there. That's the only two, I would probably change. But a lot of people was getting a lot of, of course, the LeBron fans was all in a tizzy because they were like, well, how could you not put LeBron? Well, this is why you can't put LeBron in here because all five of these guys are savants as well. These are all top geniuses, greats. Now, you could put LeBron in there. Yeah, of course, you probably still got the same championship result to an extent. But I think with this team, you definitely got it going on because the point guard himself, I just posted a highlight in the group, the SCE, with a highlight tape of Magic Johnson. Man, dude, I don't think we can appreciate Magic Johnson because I wasn't born. I can only really enjoy his highlights his last few years in the league. I kind of vaguely remember, but looking at his highlight tapes, it's like, dude, I can only imagine watching Magic Johnson live. It was probably lit every game. You know what I mean? We just as much so as it was at a Michael Jordan game. I mean, Michael Jordan was flashy to an extent, but Magic Johnson just put on a show. You know what I mean? From buzzer to buzzer. So. And a lot of the stuff, his no-look passes. I mean, he had one legitimate. I think watching those highlights, it doesn't age that well because we've seen the likes of Jason Williams, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, LeBron to an extent, all these great passers since Magic Johnson, kind of take his moves and take them to the next level, if you will. But watching his takes, man, the dude had one move where I was just like, whew. You know what I mean? It's a 40-year-old tape we looking at right here. But he had one move, and it was just so nice. And with that move alone, I was just like, you can't. This is why it's such a hard. People have such a hard time putting Steph Curry over Magic Johnson because Magic put on the show. He also won. He wasn't, statistically like the greatest player you ever seen, outside of the assist department, but. It was Magic Johnson. His impact on the game is profound, and all the greats will tell you. Even the guys he competed against, the guys that came after him, the guys that talk about Magic Johnson now, they'll tell you that he was definitely that dude. So I agree with Steph on that one. Even to that extent, I would probably insert Steph, me personally, because I feel like Steph, as a passer-wise, not necessarily as great as Magic Johnson, but Steph ain't no slacker on the passing department. He definitely has the ability to get a 10 assist game, and if he's reading the game, correctly, he's shown that this recent playoff run, when the Lakers were just shutting them down. Not necessarily when they put Vanderbilt on them, they kind of stopped him from scoring, but his playmaking stepped up at that point. So at that manner, you could put Steph in there and get some of the same results, just not as much as the Flash. Of course, shooting guard Michael Jordan. Who gonna argue with that? Only time you could probably really argue with it if you're a Kobe fan, Dwayne Wade doesn't really have a case next to Michael Jordan. So as shooting guard, of course, I'm putting Jordan there every day of the week. What else more could we say about Jordan? I do have some Jordan breakdown tapes and some stuff that I feel like a lot of people don't pay attention to, or just some of the younger audiences y'all may not really been up on, because a lot of stuff about Jordan I had to go watch highlight tapes and stuff on. Jordan got into the league before I was even born, so a lot of that stuff, watching those tapes of him in the '80s, for the most part. It brings a lot of education and knowledge to me that I wasn't privileged to see live. So I have to go look at all this extra stuff, surrounding the time frame, and really appreciate what Michael Jordan was in the '80s. So anyway, of course you're gonna put MJ at the shooting guard. Small forward, I like Kobe there. Like I said, I personally would put Larry Bird. Larry Bird was my greatest small forward of all time. Larry Bird is pretty much Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan, and that's the kind of part I feel like a lot of people forget about Larry Bird, is that he was literally Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan, as far as, that clutch player, everybody just being fearful of this dude when he stepped onto the court. Bird is my greatest. But I like Kobe there as well, because Kobe definitely towards the end of his career became more of a forward and a small forward. I mean, this is my thing about, and I don't believe in positionless basketball I don't believe in that at all. I appreciate the shooting guard for what a shooting guard is, and I appreciate the small forward for what the small forward is. But I just want to be frank and honest. Those two positions are probably, twins in some responsibility. So, if you got, a small forward position and you want Kobe and Jordan on your team, I would put Kobe at the small forward too, just because that shooting guard spot is taken. And then essentially Kobe gonna give it y'all on the defensive end anyway, which I've always was under the understanding that your small forward is probably your best perimeter defender, as well as a threat on the offense. He's one of your best wing players. So do I want Jordan or Kobe there? Interchange them, if you will. And definitely my personal pick, I'm putting Larry Bird there. But I like Kobe there for athletic purposes, and definitely defensive purposes. Kobe shutting down whoever he's guarding, prime Kobe, definitely. 24 prime Kobe, definitely. Number 4 is my greatest power forward of all time, Tim Duncan. This is why I say me and Steph Curry, we right here as far as, respecting the guys that came up in our generation. I think, a lot of other dudes will put somebody else there depending on when you grew up. I've heard cases for other guys, but I think respectfully, universally, people have placed Tim Duncan as the greatest power forward of all time, just off production, off what he stood for. He was the big fundamentals. Excuse me, to quote Shaq, the big fundamentals, and what, Tim Duncan didn't impact the game so much, how he played, but definitely in the leadership, the way, and the way he went about it with grace. You definitely can't discount Tim Duncan. And last but not least, one of the arguably greatest centers of all time. Excuse me, y'all. Shaquille O'Neal. Definitely probably the most dominant guy in the league next to Wilt. Shaq was a force, and I'm glad I was able to watch Shaq, from pretty much, I remember Orlando Shaq, but I definitely remember day one Shaq from the Lakers. So I was privileged to watch Shaq come up, be the dominant force he was, get the three-peat, all that kind of stuff. Shaq was, he was a him. Let's just call it what it is. And was a scary him too, because it wasn't nobody in the Shaq era that was going to be able to stop him. And I think people really kind of discount Shaq, because who in NBA history was going to stop him? I mean, Olajuwon already confessed that if he had to face Lakers Shaq in the finals, he would have lost. So I think that's a fair, assessment. Orlando Shaq was still young, still, learning, but Lakers Shaq was here, that was the prime Shaq. So definitely a force. Like I said, I'd probably put Kareem there just off my personal bias. I didn't see Kareem. I did see Shaq, but I can appreciate what Kareem brought to the game. But yeah, I put the plug Shaq in. You still bring it home to Larry O'Brien. That's just, I would agree with you on that one, Chef. But anyway, that was Chef top 5. That's just my commentary. I do like it. It's a solid 5. You definitely can win a championship with that team. Exchange a few names, you still gonna win a championship. But this is solid. This is very solid. That's all I got for that one, y'all. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. Please hit the notification bell as well, so you can be notified, y'all. I'm dropping content. Here it come. It's your boy Tony the Savant. Y'all be blessed.